What's up, guys? It's me. But so I did post something yesterday. I said I was gonna show you all like my papers and stuff and my comics. That's a lot of paper. Which when I move this paper, this is my third comic I've made. But there is a lot. Oh, wait, that's my bad. Forgot about the camera. So first thing we're doing is this paper, my new Pokemon ideas, which one of them is actually a reference. Whoa, one of them's actually a reference to. Well, actually, two of them. Two of them are references from other Pokemon out there, like fan made. So here's Regitube. I gave it a different design than the one that other people see today. And it's called the Tube Pokemon, weighs 294 pounds, has a base stat total of 580, and is 6'11". Then Evrion, the ultimate Pokemon, has a base stat total of 700, similar to Arceus, is 4'2", weighs 79.3 pounds, and then to evolve it, to evolve Eevee into Evrion, your Eevee must be female and given a shiny stone at level 60, which is how you get it. Then my other two are Permafrost, the Permafrost Pokemon, which is an evolution to a Pokemon I haven't made yet. It's like a poison ice frog. Then we have Dracofruit, the fruit Pokemon, similar to Tropius, and there's its design. I also have the shinies on the back, which I'll show you. Then we have Sparkle, which is my favorite name. The wire Pokemon is 7'9" and weighs 491 pounds. Then here are the shinies. So that's Regitube's shiny, that's Sparkle's shiny, that's Dracofruit's shiny, that's Permafrox's shiny, and then that's Evrion's shiny. So I'm pretty proud of myself for making those. Okay. So then, here are my comics. So if you'll give me 1 second, I'll put them in order. Okay, so they're all in order now. Oh, wait. There, that's better. So they're based off of a character named Ripley. He's from Fortnite, and they're also based off of, you know who it would be based off of? It's Raichu. So what's happening is he wants to tell a story to that guy right there. So back in the lab, he said he was working on an experiment, which right there is just a robot he made, and then that's Dr. Replenish. He's like the main character. And then he says, I wish I could start, but I was missing the other piece for the activator. And then Ripley barges in and yells, Doctor. And then he says, what? Quiet down. Then he says, we found something. Which, these are two-sided papers, just so you know. And then he said, then he showed him a blue piece, which the other piece was green. And then he says, wait, this isn't green. Then 3 days later, a guy named Ripsip, his whole thing is he has a huge foot. And then he's glad he found it. He yells, yes. Then he says, I was being lousy after I found it. Then Raichu wakes up due to the noise. And that was the first page. Then Raichu tries using Thunderbolt on its way out when Dr. Replenish has noticed. And then he says, it's time, and he starts the thing. Then later, after he finishes the whole thing, trying to transform Raichu into something that... trying to turn Raichu into Ripley, sort of. And here's the cover, which I wasn't so good at drawing back then, but Don't worry, the last comic was incredibly drawn. So he said, I'd call this story Dr. Replenish and the Ripley Raichu Rampage. So he runs out of the lab, which he does look very awkward here, don't mind that. And then he's... Every single time I look at this right here, he reminds me of like a chubby kid, and I like it. And then anyway, the whole lab, well, not the whole lab, but like the roof was blown off of the lab while Raichu is using Thunderbolt on the whole thing. And then down here, you can see Raichu, well, Ripley doing that stuff, but I still prefer to call it Raichu. You could, oh crap, I dropped my phone a little bit. So that's Raichu using Thunderbolt, then it hits Dr. Replenish. Then this guy, his name is Riblinus, and he comes over, asks, are you okay? And then this is my dad's favorite page. So then Raichu starts using an Electro Ball. Ripley runs in and asks what's going on. Then it says, Ripley screams like a girl. While the Electro Ball is about to hit Ripley, Riblinus pushes him out of the way. Then he explodes. Then he yells, Father! Then that. So and this is the only page that I forgot to color. Just think of how many times I've failed. Or just think of, man, I can't speak. Just think how many fails I've had. So this right here is meant for him to, like, the glass thing is shooting back up at him. Then this time he sucked in too much helium. He found a bomb in his toolbox. He used a shrink ray on himself almost as soon as he found Raichu, and then the Ripley fell. Then all of a sudden, Raichu's Pokeball comes and hits him in the head from the lab. Then he says, Raichu's Pokeball. He throws it, then hits Raichu, then catches Raichu. Then back to the lab. Ripley asks, what's this? And Dr. Replenish responds, it's called Raichu. It's called a Raichu Night X. I've never tried it, but give it to Raichu. Then the second comic. Dr. Replenish and Raichu's Monstrous Mega Madness. Give me 1 second. Let me get the other comic organized. Alright. So, here's the cover. It does look a little better than the first one. So, here. So after that, we ran. Good thing we ran. Then the Mega Evolution thing happened. Then Raichu evolves into, well, not exactly evolves. Raichu Mega evolves into Mega Raichu X. Then leaves the building. Then he cusses right here, but don't mind that. He looks at his lab and sees the crazy explosion of what Raichu did. Then, if you look very closely right there, that's supposed to be Mega Raichu X. Crap, there. He says, not again, because his lab exploded again. Then, Raichu starts speeding towards him using Volt Tackle. Then he screams and notices. Then he gets hit by Raichu. I don't know why I gave him those eyes, but I did. Then he gets smashed into a brick wall. Then he looks straight at the shadow, and then there's Raichu. Then, this guy right here, his name is Nacriply. I don't know why I gave him that name, but I quite enjoy it. His whole thing is he has a enormous arm that he only works out with that arm, not using his other arm that's really, really tiny. Anyway, he runs over as Dr. Replenish yells, "Help somebody!" And then he gets over, uses his enormous hand to block the Volt Tackle until he gets the chance to run away, then he explodes. And for some reason, I think he looks a little feminine in this picture, which I didn't mean to do. But just like the mechanic in battle, Raichu technically ended the battle. So it, I don't know how to say it, unmega evolved, but then randomly gets hit in the head with another Raichu Knight. But instead it's the Raichu Knight Y, and then mega evolves again. He says, "Are you freaking serious?" And then Raichu breaks the window with its tail, then grabs him around the neck. Then I did pretty good with the design of this. So then he grips tightly onto Raichu's tail, causing Raichu to use Thunderbolt. Raichu's angry. He runs out of the building. Then he looks back at Raichu. Then all of a sudden Raichu uses a crazy Volt Tackle. Oh wait, forgot about the back. Then he trips on a brick as he runs away, then looks over at Raichu as it's using Volt Tackle towards him. Then this guy's Ripsip, once again, there's his foot compared to his other foot. So his whole thing is his foot weighs 200 pounds, as his other foot only weighs like 20. Well, I think that's how much a foot weighs. I don't know. No, definitely not. Like 7 pounds, not 20. Then here's when Ripsip is about to die, just like Cripply did. So then during this, he gets flashbacks. Then Ripsip explodes. Raichu is... Mega Evolution time is over, just like earlier when the battle was over, which was sort of what happened. And then he looks at the ground, sees Raichu's Pokeball again, then he yells, "Let's go," throws it at Raichu once again. Then he hits Raichu with the Pokeball and he says, "It's finally over!" Which is not exactly what his voice sounds like, but I hope. Then he says, 1 year later, back to the lab. "All fixed? Oh dear God of Ripley." Then all the Raichus are here. The 7 Raichus of the week, which are Raichus I made. Which I can show you guys that on Sunday, which is tomorrow. Alright. Now let me clean this up. Okay, it's all gone. Okay, so next comic is Dr. Replenish and the Rightful Return to Home of Raichu, which I didn't know any other way I could do that. So there's the cover. Alright, here we go. So he says, "So yep, 7 Raichus." Then there's all 7 of them, and he says, "They're your kind," he says, and then it looks like I'll have to send you home. So then the dapper Raichu walks up and points at Raichu again, and then he notices that he has to transform him back. So as he gets to work, all that, he takes a slurp of his tea. Then the lazy Raichu gets up and looks at the tea and thinks of the sleepy Raichu, which I'll show you all tomorrow. Then when he walks up and looks at, when Dr. Replenish walks up and looks at the lazy Raichu, he yells, well, not yells, but says nope. Then he walks away, steps on the sleepy Raichu's tail, gets electrocuted. Then I think I've showed you guys this page in one of my videos. So 1 week later, when he got the thing fully done, he says it's stuck. Then the sleepy Raichu finally wakes up, walks over, uses Brick Break on the thing, which I'm pretty sure Raichu can learn, right? Yeah, I really think Raichu can learn that. But, Raichu then just walks away casually. And then right here, this Raichu is saying, bros ore farming. Which I loved that page so much. Then on the back. This is the best Meowth I've ever drawn in my life. Anyway. He can't understand what Raichu's saying. So he just says, huh? And then in Raichu's perspective, he says we all must go home. Then he looks down at the ground, sees the Meowth translator, and then the translator says, Meowth, that Pokemon said we all must go home. Which, that's my best impression of Meowth. And then, right here, this is not meant to be colored in. The only thing that I accidentally colored in was his tie. And then right here, if I'm not the best writer, so it says, you know we've been looking for you for 4 years. And he says, wait, really? Then right here, he's working on the ship. Then this Raichu's sleeping. And then the Raichu that said the sleepy Raichu was aura farming, he left his crown there for him. And right here, he created the ship. And he said, what a masterpiece! And then they're all in the ship. And he says, okay, here we go. Then the ship started doing stuff, sort of. So it starts going really fast, and Raichu almost flew out of its chair. Then he tries slowing it down, then Raichu, slams into the window. Then back in his seat. My favorite face he made in the book, and then just Raichu's traumatized from it. Oh, I skipped the page. Here, 1 second. The pages aren't separating. Okay, it's all better. There. It's not stuck. Alright, so then when they get to the solar system, right here is supposed to be the planet Evrion lives on, which was the custom evolution I made right there. But then Raichu notices its planet. Then he says, farewell, my great friends. Then Raichu looks back as he's walking back in. Then Raichu is running back. And then he just says, oh gosh, as Raichu's running. Then Raichu runs back over to give him a hug. Then he says, huh? And then he says, I love you too, buddy. Then back to the lab. This is meant for my next comic, my 5th one, I think. No, my 6th one, because I still have to make the other part of my 4th comic. So he walks back to the lab, notices Raichu's footprints. He hears a loud boom and then looks over. This guy's name is Blunick, which, if any of you played Speedrunners, you guys will know who that is. But some of you guys probably won't know who Blunick is, which I will explain in my next video. But that was that comic. So then this is Raichu's turn to tell his tales. Then just right here is Raichu's language translated to English. Part 1. Oh wait, by the way, need to clean it up. There we go. Anyway, Raichu's turn to tell his tales. Here we go. By the way, here's the characters. I'm just zooming into Pichu. Anyway, here's the characters. So we have Sparky, the Pichu, Waddy the Pichu, Sparky the Pikachu, Waddy the Pikachu, Sparky the Raichu, Waddy the Raichu, and Cool Sparky the Raichu. Put that down there, and then we'll put the cover right here. So then he says, this is my story now. So it says, it began when I was a Pichu hatched from an egg, which this is probably the best drawing I've ever done, which is just barely a drawing. So he says, I couldn't defend myself well due to shocking myself when I attacked, which my dad thought I did well. My dad thought it said, I couldn't defend myself well, duck toe, shocking myself when I attacked. That's what he thought I said. So then he said, after countless weeks, I found a friend. We fed each other. We made each other laugh. I thought I just heard a bug fly by my ear. That's what that sudden stop was. Okay, so then I'd feel glad to call him my bro until the moment came. After weeks of hanging together, we both evolved into Pikachu. So began the hunt. My God, I can't speak. So began the hunt for a Thunderstone. I didn't want to evolve, but I had no choice. So the search began. Two hours later, Pikachu yells, Pika-Pee! Nah, I don't know why I said that, but then when Raichu's telling the story, he says, it's time. Then Pikachu decides to evolve itself into Raichu. While Pikachu notices, well, Sparky, the Pikachu, notices that Pikachu evolved, which his name's Waddy, notices that Waddy evolves into Raichu. Then Raichu really wants Pikachu to evolve into Raichu. So he says he really wanted me to evolve so badly. No, he wanted me to evolve so badly. So then he said, I gave up on declining. I finally evolved. Then he says, I felt different. Then he said, it feels a lot better than I thought. Then he says, Waddy says, wow, you look nice. So then he asks, do you want to battle? And then Sparky agrees. So he says it was fun. Yeah, and then he said, until I got a little too rough. Then Raichu uses Hyper Beam. Then knocks out Raichu. Or, well, Waddy the Raichu. Then, when he notices from afar, he looks like, well, here, 1 second. Oh, gosh. He notices that Raichu is hurt Waddy the Raichu is hurt pretty badly. Then Waddy is caught by another trainer, and he says, after that, I never saw him again. Then he looks at the ground after he gets far enough away. He said, after running, I found a bow tie and some classy glasses. And then he said, I like them. Then I forgot to fill in these 2 slots. So he said, I didn't feel right without Waddy. So he decided to go up the mountain, which took a lot of his energy away. Then right here, I think it was time to find out who I was meant to be. Then to be continued.